Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Robin Garrett-State, and I'm a Senior Cybersecurity Risk Manager here at BECU. Welcome to Member Summit. We will be talking about keeping your money safe online. I'll be talking about the first topics, and then Dana will be talking about the second topics, and I'll go over that. But first, let's take a quick quiz. Can you spot the fake email? Just just take a couple of seconds, take a look at that, and tell me if you can spot it. If you can't, that's fine. We'll be going over this later. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to be talking about social engineering red flags, free cybersecurity training courses, what to do if you're a victim, and how to protect yourself online. Dana will be covering the last two topics. I'll be covering the first two. Social engineering. Social engineering is a way for people to try to get information from you and you don't even realize it's happening. That's what social engineering is all about. Now let's take this deck here. We're talking about social engineering with emails. Now, when you have emails in front of you, most of us don't even look at the emails. Most of us will just go ahead and click right through it. And really, you need to slow down for a few minutes and take a look at the emails. You need to look at the subject line. You need to look at who sent you the email. Do you know them? Do you like them? Do you trust them? And if you don't know them, then you need to ask yourself, why are you receiving an email from them? If those emails have hyperlinks in them, or they have attachments, that could be for you, because those attachments could be a malicious file. The hyperlink could be taking you to a website that's really not that website. It's actually a fake website where the hacker is trying to get your information. So you really want to be careful when you're clicking on your emails and just downloading stuff. You want to make sure you look at the date. You want to make sure you look at the subject. You also want to make sure you're looking at the content inside the email. If the content inside the email does not match the subject line, that could be a problem. That should be a red flag to you to look at and say, hey, why doesn't this match? Again, you always want to double check your emails to make sure that you are that you know that person. Okay. Let's go back to the next slide. Now, we took a quiz earlier, and I asked you to pick the fake email. As you can see, this one here is marked fake. That's the My Bank email. That one is fake because it has you should see the URL ending, well, the domain ending in mybank@yahoo.com. That should be a dead giveaway that is a fake email. And it's fake because, well, it's got a Yahoo domain attached to a bank email, and that's just wrong. And that email is also asking you to verify your account by clicking on the link inside of the email. You never want to click on a link inside of an email, especially if you don't know who that is, or if it's your bank sending you the email. You should always call your bank and get verification. Get verification about the validity of any emails you get regarding the bank. All right. The next, if you look at the PayPal page right next to it, you can see that that's an informational email. It's telling you that you sent money out and how much you sent. It's basically just giving you information. It's not requesting or asking you to do anything other than read the email so that you can see what information is there. But we have something very special for you to teach you all about this. And that is free cybersecurity courses. BECU has partnered with KnowBe4 to give you some training that will help you and your family learn about being safe online, what to do with when you get phished, how to protect yourself with online classes. So these classes will teach you how to do it. Now, I'll show you the link. I'll tell you the link in just a few minutes, but I do want to tell you before we get there, this is the page you'll come to when you've logged in. And all you're going to have to do is scroll down, and then you will be able to see the different trainings that's available for everybody. And those trainings, like for instance, the password one or social engineering red flags, which is what I was just talking about earlier, are good trainings. They're short and they're very informative. They'll help you become a better cyber person online when you're looking at your emails. So let's see here. Now, when you want to access this training, I hope you can see this URL up here. But this URL will take you to the training, to that page I was showing you. And let me see if I can go back. Yeah. Again, it'll bring you here. All you have to do is scroll down and click on this orange tab. When you click on that, it will ask you for a password. And that password is home course. And notice it's all lowercase. It is case sensitive, so it's all lowercase. And you click on that, and then you'll be inside the portal. You'll be able to access all the online classes that are being offered. They're absolutely free. It uses flashcards, uses videos, it's reading, it's really short, and it'll help educate you and make you much more safer online. So please take advantage of this free training for everyone. BECU wants to educate you, help you be a better cyber warrior online when you're doing your online banking. And check it out. I really think you'll appreciate it. Well, my next cohort, or my coworker, Dana McClain, is coming on next. Dana, take it away.
Excuse me. Thanks, Robin. We're going to talk about the so fun concept of passwords and what to do if you're a victim. We'll look at a couple of things that go along with what Robin was just describing. First thing to note or to keep track of is when you see links in emails or text messages or whatever, don't click on the link. If you don't recognize the number or the email address it came from, don't click on any links at all. If you have any questions, contact your financial institution. Call us on the customer support number. Things that you can do to help protect yourself, you can make sure that all your software is up to date, your Windows patches or whatever operating system you're using. Make sure antivirus that's on your computer is updated. If you get an email with a lot of detail or a text message with a lot of your personal information in it, might be worth going through the normal way you access it to change your password and things like that. Just some basic things. And no, you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there, and a lot of them lost a lot of money. You can see the number on the screen is almost $4.5 billion due to fraud. So we'll go into some of the other ways that you can help protect yourself while you're online. And the first one is creating passphrases instead of passwords, because, well, passwords are hard to remember. You look at the first example, they're not the best things to use. The first one's fairly easy to break into, and you could guess it because it says old password with a few special characters and stuff. Looking at the second one, you can see a bunch of random stuff, and who's going to remember that? I mean, that's exceptionally difficult for a normal person to remember. I know some people that probably could, but there are not very many of them. I, for one, wouldn't remember that one. Something you can do, create a passphrase, make a sentence out of it. The example I've got there is 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. Even Dory could remember that one. So it's a lot easier for you to remember. It's actually a sentence to some respect, or an address in this case, but it's really hard for anything to break, and people aren't going to guess that. You've got a dash in there, a couple capital letters, already has numbers in it. It meets all the requirements that you need for a complex password. So that's just one step you can use to make your life a little easier. Create a password or a passphrase instead of a password. I know somebody that used lyrics out of The Song That Never Ends to create their password, which was really long. Other things you can do to help protect yourself, don't use the same credentials in more than one place. Try to create a unique logon. So if you use 42 Wallaby Way as your password for online banking associated with your normal email address, don't go to your favorite social media and use the same username and password. Use a different password. That works for financial institutions, recipe site, Weight Watcher, weight management app, or whatever you're into. You can use it on mobile, on your computer, wherever you're using it. You could do those kinds of things. Makes life way safer. A really common attack is if a company gets a breach or if somebody discovers your credentials online somehow, the first thing that that bad actor is going to do is try to reuse those credentials on other sites like social media, Facebook, or wherever. So it's no fault of the organization you're working with, but if you reuse that password, it basically becomes your fault. So another thing you can do that really helps your life and security going through life is don't reuse the credentials. Come up with new ones. The last thing I'm going to cover is something that makes your life a little easier in remembering all those passwords. So some folks used to use sticky notes on their desk or put a notebook in the top drawer of their desk with all their username and passwords in it. I don't know how many places I've been that use that. Some people use a notepad file on their computer or something. Also, not a good idea. So things that you can use, they call them a password locker, or I like to call them a passphrase store. There are versions of those that work on just about every operating system you can think of. Very common ones that'll work across platforms for like Windows or Apple and Android phones. You can get probably 100 of those out there that are available for people to use. I polled some of my coworkers the other day about what their favorite one to use, and I got, out of 12 people, I got 13 answers. So there's lots of options. That's what I'm getting at. But you can use that to store the usernames and passwords and even the links to whatever it pertains to and notes to go along with it. And most of them will encrypt all of that information. Then all you got to have is one password to get into that tool, and then you can access all of these others. So with that, you can come up with unique passwords for pretty much anything you want to get into, you know, whether it's your banking or social media, whatever. And then you can only have to remember one passphrase. That's really hard for somebody else to guess, but you can remember it. I'll move on. We've got several other resources that I put together on here. One of my coworkers helped me out with. These are all other places that you can look up information that are outside of BECU. One of those is our KnowBe4 vendor. Some people have heard of Krebs on Security. Very well-known security and information security person. Probably famous by now. And so these are a lot of useful resources you can get a lot more information out of or verify some of the things I've mentioned to you today. Because like everybody I know, they like to get multiple sources for their information just to make sure. And you never know, you get a different angle. So at this point, I'm going to bring on Tori and Robin again, and we'll open it up for questions for the group. And we'll let everybody have a chance to put in a question in the chat at the bottom of your screen, and we'll go on with that. Tori, did you see anything yet? I know this takes a moment because people got to think up a good one.
Yeah, there actually is a question. So we have one from Tom who asked, does BECU have two-factor authentication?
We do. You don't see it when you first log in, but if you were to take your machine or to go somewhere else in the world that you don't normally use your machine or whatever it is you're logging in with and try to log in there, it will prompt you for two-factor authentication. It's done based off of where you normally operate out of. So it functions slightly different than other places where it's always on. Here it's on, but it's not a limiter if you're coming from a known location. So for example, if I traveled to China just out of the blue, it would prompt me if I tried to get into my online banking because it's never seen me there before.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you. We have another question from Joseph who asked, is there a place where we can report a scam so that it doesn't happen to anyone else?
Well, you can always let us know if you're being scammed with regard to BECU. If it's a BECU email that it looks like a scam, you definitely want to let us know about that. Dana, can you think of any other places?
I was trying to remember the email address. I believe it's located on our website, but I don't remember off the top of my head where to find it. I know it's available on the website. We do have a fraud link on there. They give you both the phone number and an email address to send to. There may be some other options, but I don't recall.
Thank you. We have another question in. Janelle asked, can I reuse the same password for multiple accounts?
If I remember correctly, like for example, I have multiple accounts on my personal banking. It puts them all in the same place. If you, for example, had a commercial account for a business and you have a personal account, I would recommend using a different password and potentially a different username as well. You could still use the same email address on the back end to do it all and communicate with BECU, but personally I would use different ones just so that if somebody does get a hold of it, they don't have both accounts.
Exactly, because what a hacker will do is they'll take that information that they have with regard to your password and they'll try your other accounts. They definitely will, all across the board. And so if you have the same password for all your different accounts, you've just left yourself wide open.
Yeah, it's very important to remember.
They'll also try other financial institutions that they've heard of. I know not too long ago, somebody attempted at another institution with one of my accounts, and fortunately I had different passwords on it, but BECU notified me that something was going on because they had the username.
Okay, we have another question from Carol who asked, where can I find the list of recommended resources that was shared in the presentation?
I believe we have recordings of this available on the Summit site. I'm not sure where else they'll be located, but you can get a copy there out of the recording. I don't recall exactly if they're going to put our presentations on there or not, but I know the recording will be there.
Thank you. All right, we have another question from William who asked, what about fraudulent text messages?
Same thing. You want to contact us if it's from BECU, or at least if they're claiming to be from BECU. You want to notify our fraud department about anything fraud related, be it text, smear over the phone, phishing, or phishing, which is through the email.
Thank you.
On a note to go with that, if you would get a text message that you think is fraud, don't reply to that text message, or if it's an email, don't reply to it. Contact us through another form. You know, if it's an email, contact us through the IM or the website, or call us. If you get a text message, you go into one of those others and contact us. Don't try to contact back through that channel because it's probably a fraudulent and they're going to lead you on and try to take information from you.
That's a very good point. Very good point. It's like when I was talking about at the beginning about, people clicking on emails and then they click on a link and you don't know if that link is going to take you to the correct site or if it's going to be a fraudulent site. That's why you always want to use another means. Very good point, Dana.
Okay, we have another question that just came in from Julie, who asked, what are some common requirements that a site may have for picking a password?
Sure. Some of the things that you can get, most places use a complex password, what they call complex passwords. Basically, it's a capital letter, a lowercase letter, uppercase, lowercase, and then a number, and then a special character. So some places will have limitations on what characters you can use. You know, they won't want you to use an @ symbol or whatever. So common ones you can use are ones that you would use in normal punctuation in a sentence. Those pretty much are acceptable with any site I've ever seen. Depending on the site, you can get more complex than that and start using the full bar across the top of your keyboard with the shift key. So yeah, but pretty much anything you can find in punctuation, you can use pretty much anywhere.
Okay, thank you. See, on that note, we have another question regarding passwords. This one is, how often should I change my password? And that comes from Ashley.
Okay. Depends on what you use the account for. Somewhere between 3 months and 6 months is usually a good time frame. If it's your online banking and things like that, something that's really important like that, you want to do about 3 months. If it's, you know, a site that you connect in to get recipes or something like that that you'd have to log into, you probably don't need to change very often. So 6 months, or, you know, every 9 months even maybe. So it all depends on how sensitive the information is inside of what you're using. So yeah, 3 to 6 months is usually a good time frame.
Let's see if there are others. Okay, here's one that just came in. This is from John, who asked, what's the difference between a scam and phishing?
Scam and phishing. So phishing is when people, when you have an email and they want to try to lure you to do something. A scam is pretty much the same thing. The difference is, well, there really isn't much of a difference. The difference is, though, that a scam is really out to get your money and ask you to do something urgently, like right now. It makes you feel like you've got to do it right away. Phishing is more subtle. They're hoping that you're not really paying any attention and that you'll just click on a link to go wherever it is they want you to go.
Thank you.
Mhm.
There's another question also on passwords. This one is from David, and he asked, are there some common passwords that we shouldn't use?
Oh boy. Actually, there's a lot. Some of the most common ones that I've seen run through like 0 through 9, you know, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they might add a period or an exclamation point at the end or something like that to make it more complicated. But that and anything with the word password in it is pretty much like that's the top of the list of things that scammers are going to use with a tool to try and break in. There are dictionaries of common passwords on the web. You could find pretty much anywhere if you go looking for them, and people will feed those into a tool, and it's automated. It will try one after the other until either your account tells it to go away or they get in. So try to be a little creative, you know, use something lyric out of your favorite song or something, because yeah, anything with like 0 through 9 is your combination. Or even on the keyboard, if you just look down at it and go ASDFG or something like that, which is a row on the keyboard, you want to try to avoid things like that, because those are going to be on those lists too.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Maybe I have a question from Casey, who asked, if I don't have a password generator, is it okay if I write them down?
You can. I occasionally will dig out a notepad and write something down if I wanted to get creative with it and look through it. Because like if I got peculiar requirements, like it only allows me to have like 5 different special characters, I'll write something down like that. I would make sure you shred or burn that piece of paper when you're done, or dispose of it in some manner where nobody can get a hold of it. But most of the password locker tools that I mentioned, or passphrase storage things, have a built-in key generator or password generator. So, and you can feed criteria into those of, okay, I can only use these 5 characters. Well, it'll generate something with just those 5. That's a pretty common thing. But yeah, you can even find them online, but don't tell them the account that it goes with when you're generating it. But yeah, you can write it down. Just make sure you dispose of the paper when you're done.
For sure. Like, please don't put it underneath your keyboard or
Yeah.
stick it to your stick it to your monitor. It's a safe place. Not.
It's out of sight, but can still be found.
Very true. We have another question from Avery, who asked, is phishing only done through email, or can I get a text message that's phishing?
You actually you can get phished through text messages. Only they don't call it text phishing through text. It's called phishing. Well, that's through the voicemail. I'm sorry about that. You can get phished through text. I'm sorry I can't tell you the name of it, but you definitely can get phished through text.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's another question here on passwords. This one is from Carter, who asked, can a password generator or website be susceptible to a data breach?
Yeah, actually they can. There have actually been a couple of them in the news lately. Both scenarios, the company that created it was breached, and the bad actors managed to get into the files that create for patching and sending out new versions. And people were being diligent and downloading the latest patch, and then downloaded the malware with it. So yes, that does happen. Really, the only way you can protect yourself from things like that is have a good antivirus tool and pay attention to the news. Most of the ones that happen, they put it out fairly quickly. Some companies don't have a subscriber list, so it's hard for them to just notify you if they had a breach. But if you look at some of the resources we gave you, like Krebs on Security will have the latest things on it typically. You can find them in other sources as well. But yes, that does happen. And unfortunately, in that scenario, there's not much you can do about it. The thing you're going to want to do after you find out about that is potentially get a new update for that software, because they've already realized they have a problem and fixed it, and then change all your passwords that are in that tool. I know that can be a challenge because the tool I use has, I don't know, 200 in it. So part of the reason I use it, because I can't remember that many. But yeah, that does happen.
Thank you. We have a question from Michelle, who asked, to avoid phishing, other than not clicking a link, what else can I do to protect myself?
Make sure you're reading the email all the way through. Make sure you're looking at the subject line. Make sure you're looking at the body, making sure it's clear. Do not download any attachments. Those are some of the things that you can do to make sure that you don't get phished.
Thank you.
Oh, and I have to say one other thing. Please take our online training. It is free, and it's got some great content in there to help you learn how to not be phished.
Thank you. I don't see any new questions right now, but do we want to go over some more common questions that people may have?
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Do we have the time? If we do, sure.
Yeah, let's do it. So one common question is it okay to share my password with anybody, even if it's somebody in my family?
Oh, that's a good question. In most cases, you don't want to do that. In certain scenarios, you may want to do that with certain accounts. So like if you have an illness or something, you may want to keep, say, the password for your password storage tool in a safe or something at home. So if, forbid, something happens to you, they can get into that. Somebody can get in and access the accounts, your spouse or significant other person can get in and manage your affairs and get access to it. I know some people that recently the gentleman's spouse passed away, and he didn't have access to any of his spouse's accounts. He was listed on the account, but he didn't have a way to access them online or anything. So he had to actually go to the branches and see them in person to show his ID and things like that to get access. So yeah, in some scenarios, it might be, you might be perfectly healthy. It's still a good idea to have a backup plan like that, just in case something random happens. But day to day, like you don't really need to share that with anybody. I'm sure you trust your spouse, so it's probably safe. But I wouldn't maybe share that with a teenage child or something. I don't know. It all depends on your situation, really, is what I'm getting at. So it would be a good idea to have, like that other location stored in a safe or something like that, just in case. But day to day, you should really need to probably.
Also, I have one thing I'd like to add. When you were talking about texting and as far as phishing goes, that's actually called smishing. And I'm sorry I couldn't remember that earlier, but it's called smishing when you get phished while you're being texted. I just wanted to get that out there while we're still live.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. Hey, we do have another question that came in from Pauline, who asked, what are some common mistakes that we make when creating passwords other than saying password?
Oh, some common mistakes. Using the username in part of the password. Using the email address that you registered with in the password or something like that, or something close to you. Don't use your favorite pet or your firstborn child's name or something like that, or your spouse's name, the high school you went to, or any of those kind of things. Those are things that people could potentially find out about you in public records. Or if they know you at all, they might be able to find it out. Or if they see you on social media somewhere, they might be able to figure those things out. If you got 101 pictures with your favorite dog, that's going to be the first thing they guess. So I bet his password starts with Timmy. Who knows? So um, things like that. Try to go for things that are unique to you, that you don't share with a lot of people, and then spice it up with special characters or a number or something, just to at a random place. Like a common substitution in a password is using an at symbol instead of an a. Well, that's something that hackers know too. That's very common. So they're using like a 3 in place of an a. Nobody's going to think of that. Things like that. So mix it up a little bit where it's something you can remember, but it's really complicated for somebody to guess.
Also, you don't want to use your birth year or the
Oh
or
yeah,
the month or your
or
whole
your
birth
anniversary,
date or your anniversary because those things
child's
are pretty
birthday.
easy to right. Those are things that are pretty easy to find out.
Thank you. Those are great tips. Okay, we have time for one more question. So another common question that comes up with um, phishing is what happens if I get a suspicious link, but it's from somebody I know? Can I still click it?
I wouldn't recommend it. If it looks suspicious to you, I would just contact that person directly rather than take the chance of clicking on a link. It's never a good idea to be clicking on links in emails, mainly because you don't know where that link is going to take you, and you don't want to download behind the scenes something onto your computer that could obviously send that information, your personal information, to wherever it is it's going to be sent to. So your best bet is just not to click on anything. Just don't do it.
All right, so I think that's the last question we had time for. So we're going to have a roundtable session between the fraud team and ourselves coming up right after this, if you'd like to join us. Thanks everyone for coming and listening to what we have to say and asking some really good questions.
Yes.
So thanks everyone. We'll see you later.
Bye.
BECU makes a great effort in supporting the employees and the activities that are of importance to us.
Giving back to our community is very important to all of us here at BECU, to the point that we've created a program titled BECU Cares. And one of the greatest elements of the BECU Cares program is we give each employee 24 hours annually to give back to programs and nonprofits that matter to them. What's better than getting paid to do what you're passionate about and helping people?
The role at BCU allowed me to give back by giving me the opportunity to volunteer at Tukwila Food Bank, where I able to partner with the different people to prep for the food and then give back to all the people who need it. I remember it was on a Thursday morning, and I did not know that it was a long line for over 300 people line up to receive food from us. And able to see that, able to realize that how people needed it, give me a thought about I want to do more and more. And BCU still able to offer me to volunteer more and more. So that's what I'm really proud of.
Annual Day of Service, which happens every year, where the whole staff, the whole credit union closes for a day, and we go out to local high schools and do financial education. And it's just really cool to see coworkers kind of break out of their shell, be put in different environment, a different social environment that might be challenging or new, and then to come to work the next day and hear all about it, and everyone always has a big smile on their face.
Really enjoy the chances that I get to teach people in one way or another, and I really enjoy being able to fill in gaps of knowledge that people have. Whether it's a member and they don't know what their account can do, and I can tell them, oh, and you can do this and that with it, and there's these extra pieces, and here's how you can build your credit rating up using this at no cost to you.
So my favorite memory would be when I helped almost an 80-year-old member who had never gone to the ATM, and she was standing in the teller line wanting to make a deposit. And I asked her, what are you doing today? And she said, I'm just making a deposit. I said, I can help you with that at the ATM. She goes, I've never used that ATM and I don't want to use it. I've never used it, I'm not comfortable. I said, do you mind if I take you over there and show you how you can make that deposit? So she said, okay. So I took her to the ATM, we made the deposit, and she was like so happy. She said, you taught me something new today.
Sharing my knowledge, sharing my passion of helping people.
There is so much that we can do in order to help fulfill a need, and it really is just on trying to dig as deep as we can in order to find what those are. So that can separate us different from any other financial institution, because we're not just hitting numbers, we're fulfilling people's dreams.